for you. Call 615-649-4590. That's 615-649-4590.
Hey, neighbor, when you talk, others listen. If it's on Good Neighbor Talk, keep it here. WGNS, AM, FM, online.
It's 5 before 5 and time to get an update on Good Neighbor events.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
In today's changing world, you need a financial planner that you're comfortable with. Rely on the bonds that you've built with trusted friends at Old National Bank on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard here in the borough. And if you just moved here, visit us and enjoy warm, homemade cookies.
Honey, the cookies are ready.
Like Grandma used to make. Old National Bank. We're better together.
2230 Dr. MLK Jr. Boulevard. Old National Bank, member FDIC.
Now, WGNS Good Neighbor Events. Did you realize that yoga helps you improve your flexibility and balance? It builds your strength, improves posture, and supports joint health, as well as enhancing cardiovascular health. It even aids in digestion. You need to learn more about yoga. And Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department offers yoga classes. Give them a call and ask about the classes at SportsCom, the Patterson Community Center, and the St. Clair Senior Center. Get healthy thanks to the yoga classes from the Murfreesboro Parks and Recreation Department. You hear us talking about Greenhouse Ministries. They function with volunteers. If you'd like to learn more about being a volunteer at Greenhouse Ministries, attend one of the volunteer orientation sessions. They're every Wednesday afternoon at 2 and every Thursday morning at 10. And if those dates don't fit, go on the last Saturday of each month at 9 in the morning. Greenhouse Ministries, 307 South Academy Street, here in Murfreesboro. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
The Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering on Spring Street, is Amy Swikert, an early childhood education assistant at Holloway High School.
I always wanted to have a house full of children and wasn't able to have my own, so being in education allows me to share my love, guidance, and encouragement with the students every day.
Amy says the best part about her job is loving on the babies each day.
The opportunity to nurture and care for the babies each day, giving them love and attention while their moms focus on completing their education. Being able to support both the child and their moms in this way makes my role incredibly rewarding.
Amy Swikert, an early childhood education assistant at Holloway High School, is the Educator of the Month.
Inspiring even one family to believe in themselves would be the greatest accomplishment of all.
The Doug Young Educator of the Month, sponsored by City Tile and Floor Covering. Know an outstanding teacher? Nominate them at WGNSradio.com/educator.
This is a paid legal ad.
At the law offices of John Day, we take only real cases that make a real difference.
Dear John, I want you to know that I appreciate everything you have done so much. I know you went over and beyond, and that's why I just think the world of you. Thank you. Robert K.
My pleasure, Robert. If you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too. Call the law offices of John Day for a free consultation. And remember, there's no fee unless we win your case. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
Hi, I'm Lee Colvin, your Edward Jones financial advisor. And while you've heard the saying, slow and steady wins the race, that same concept can be applied to long-term investing. Investing a little bit at a time on a regular basis can really add up. We call this systematic investing, and though it doesn't guarantee a profit or prevent a loss, it's a way to take advantage of market volatility instead of enduring it. Give me a call, Lee Colvin, at 615-907-7056. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's All That's News with Matt Lane on News Radio WGNS.
Around the country, around the world, CBS News is next.
Portions of our programming have been pre-recorded. The Good Neighbor Network, WGNS Murfreesboro, W270AF Murfreesboro, W263AI Murfreesboro, Smyrna.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Jennifer Kuiper. Rain today in the southern plains kicks off what's expected to be a monster storm. CBS's Nicole Valdez is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Some 180 million Americans are under weather alerts as snow and ice move from the southwest through the plains to the northeast.
This is a very dangerous combination of heavy snow and extreme cold temperatures.
Salt spreaders are loading up in New York City, and there's concern of salt shortages in certain areas.
Double-digit feels-like temperatures have not stopped thousands of people in Minneapolis from marching through the streets. CBS's Nicole Skanga is in Minneapolis.
On Friday, the Pillar Forum and hundreds of businesses in the Twin Cities protested ICE with a general strike.
All of us here know how we feel about the matter and have been very vocal that we are against ICE and we are against them being in our spaces, and we're against the sanctioned violence.
Community members are calling for no work, no school, and no shopping, calling it a day of truth and freedom.
Up next, a rally at Minneapolis's Target Center. For the first time, negotiators from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia all sat down together to work on a deal to end the war in Ukraine. CBS's Willie James Inman has more.
That is a significant step, that these are trilateral talks, not one-on-one talks with the Russian side or the Ukrainian side. Steve Witkoff, the president's negotiator, talked about this in an interview. He said the Ukrainians have said that we're 90% done, and I agree with them. In fact, I think that we've made even more significant improvement.
The trial for Luigi Mangione, the man accused of gunning down a U.S. health insurance executive in New York City in December 2024, will begin with jury selection in September. CBS's Katrina Kaufman was in court today.
What we did learn along with that jury selection date is that the judge has declared two different potential trial dates. One is for a non-capital trial if the death penalty is off the table. That would be October 13th. And then January 11th if this is a capital trial, which would be a much lengthier and more complex trial.
In what's billed as a first-of-its-kind study, researchers at Northwestern University find that wood burning in homes causes dangerous air pollution in the winter. Lead study author Kyan Schlipak says just 2% of homes rely on wood as their primary heating source, but that accounts for 22% of fine particulate matter. Researchers estimate 8,600 premature deaths annually are associated with wood-burning fireplaces, furnaces, and stoves.
If you are hoping to continue burning wood, but do so with lower impacts, making sure you're properly drying your wood and properly using your appliance are the best courses of action.
The study is published in the journal Science Advances. This is CBS News.
Follow and listen to the official 48 Hours After Show post-mortem on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/now. That's ethos.com/now.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Okay, I have to tell you. I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest. The last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying. Just beautiful.
Millions of finds, each with a story.
Good afternoon, Tina. I tried to clear up a couple of accidents. Still a little bit heavy over here. Really not surprised. On 24 West at Ellington Parkway, it's a little bit slow. 40 East as it drags along over here, passing Fessler's, pushing on out into Donaldson. A little bit of radar from time to time on I-40 out through certain parts of Wilson County, especially around the Mount Juliet area. 24/7 car and truck towing here in Middle Tennessee. Yes, I'm talking about STR Towing and Recovery. Give them a call if you need them. I'm Commander Chuck, you're on time traffic.
Local farmers, local meats, vegetables, and other produce at the Winter Spring Rutherford County Farmers Market.
Bundle up and make your way every Friday at Lane Agri Park.
Rutherford weather.
A winter storm warning goes in effect late tonight. A few light snow showers become possible well after midnight towards daybreak, and lows make it down to the upper teens. From the WGNS Rutherford Weather Center, I'm Phil Jensko. Right now it's 39.
We do it your way at Sir Pizza.
Join the team at Murfreesboro's favorite pizza restaurant. Sir Pizza is now hiring at all 3 locations. Come by and be part of the team at Sir Pizza.
We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com.
This is the Blue Raider Podcast on WGNS, presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee. It's your all-access pass to everything Middle Tennessee sports. Game recaps, player spotlights, and the latest from the heart of Blue Raider Nation. Now, here's your host, Jake Bolden.
Welcome back to the Blue Raider Podcast presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee. A lot to break down in today's episode, starting off with the Lady Raiders. They fall in Coach Insel's quest for 500 last night in a disappointing fashion to Delaware. We've got all the breakdown and takeaways from that one. Of course, we're going to preview the expedited matchup tonight against Liberty. We're going to be taking you all the way up to tip-off for there. And then also we've got men's basketball. Their game for Saturday also got moved up to tonight against Jacksonville State. That does tip off at 6 p.m. Central Time, so we will quite literally be taking you up to tip off there. And then we've got some more football portal transfer news, some big pickups this last week, so we'll continue our talk from last week on what Coach Mason and staff is doing. Before we get into today's episode, though, I have to thank our presenting sponsor, Gold's Gym of Tennessee. Right now, for the new year, they've got a month-to-month pricing that's only available online with no additional fees. Their gold membership is just $25 bi-weekly with a $40 enrollment, or you can upgrade to the family plan for you and your significant other at $45 bi-weekly with only a $20 enrollment. The membership gives you access to all 16 Gold's Gyms across Tennessee, along with group exercise classes and childcare, all included with no hidden costs. So visit Gold's Gym of Tennessee online at goldsgym.com to learn more and find a location near you. Thanks again to Gold's Gym of Tennessee for being our presenting sponsor of the Blue Raider Podcast. If you're not already following us along on social media, we're live streaming right now on YouTube, X/Twitter, and Facebook. Make sure you hit that subscribe or follow button. We're also on TikTok and Instagram at Blue Raider Pod, so you don't miss another one of our weekly episodes. And of course, we are live, so if you want to make a call into today's episode, our lines are open. That phone number is 615-893-1450. We'd be happy to listen to you Blue Raider fans talk about what's going on in basketball, and of course the hot topic as of last night, Lady Raiders fall at home against Delaware. I didn't really understand. We all knew there was 500 wins at stake for Coach Insel and company. There, obviously, that in and of itself was a huge milestone, and that would just be delaying the inevitable. But really, for me, the more heartbreaking loss was, and I was unaware of this until last night, but the Lady Raiders were holding a 39 home game Conference USA win streak, and that was snapped last night against a team that just joined Conference USA. That streak extended all the way back to March of 2021 when the Lady Raiders lost to Marshall in a weird season with COVID rules. I believe that was back when they had to play Marshall twice in the same week to limit travel and obviously contact tracing and all that. But that went all the way back to five years ago since the Lady Raiders have lost a conference home game. And it was a tough watch for all those in attendance, and for all the reasons outside the court, whether it's the pressure. I know that athletic marketing went way out of their way to commemorate what could have been last night, Coach Insel's 500th win. And of course, it will happen, and ideally it will happen at home tonight against no one better than Liberty, but you would have liked to have gotten it out of the way against Delaware, because if you're tensed up and you're feeling that pressure as one of these young players may be feeling, we talked about that with them in the post-game press conference, maybe there is some added pressure. I don't know, and that's tough. If you have a bunch of seniors, it's just another ball game. But you've led up to this. You have the big countdown there on the east side of the gymnasium that you have to look at. You got the win at Sam Houston. You just beat who was the first place team in Conference USA. You're coming home against the last place team in Conference USA in Delaware, and you just don't want to lay a goose egg. And unfortunately, for the first 3 quarters, that's exactly what happened. And more specifically, that middle stretch from the 5-minute mark of the second all the way to the end of the third quarter, they went over 16 minutes without scoring a single field goal. They only had 3 free throws during that stretch, and that's exactly where Delaware got that lead out. And when we were sitting there on the sidelines, I had Cecil Joyce and Maurice Patton sitting there beside me as we were going over what needs to happen for these Lady Raiders to get back into it. They needed to trim that deficit down to 10 with 10 minutes left, and they got awfully close. It was around 15 to 12 points with 4 minutes to go. Needed a 3 there late that would have trimmed it down to single digits for the first time since the second quarter. The shot didn't fall. Delaware did exactly what we all thought they would do, and that includes not shoot the basketball, use their shot clock wisely, and really didn't give MTSU an opportunity. So I guess the biggest takeaway is you can't go down by over 20 points in the second half and anticipate a comeback, and they certainly came back feverishly. You have to give your hats off to Nicole Dominguez, who came in for a Blair Bogus that was fighting foul trouble there. She picked up 2 fouls early, picked up her third one very early into the third quarter. Again, kind of feeds into this scoring drought that you had because your leading scorers on the bench with foul trouble, and they experienced that on their road trip as well. But Nicole, she only played 12 minutes off the bench and played majority of that fourth quarter, and only 12 minutes. She goes for 9 points, 8 rebounds. I mean, we all saw it. A perfect shooting, 4 for 4, hit her free throw. You can't ask for more from a freshman, and I know that says a lot with all the freshmen, and she's replacing a freshman on the floor in Blair Bogus, but I think a lot of us have high expectations for a girl who's listed at 6'10", being the tallest player on the floor by 7 inches. You fully anticipate her to be dominant, and we haven't seen that quite yet. And as you've watched her develop in even these short few months, she still has a lot of growing to do, but last night was a positive sign. She's actually got an uptick in minutes. If you watch the road contest at La Tech and Sam Houston, even going into last night's game, she was the first big off the bench. We've seen in games past that Stacy Kabernick is normally the first one off the bench, but last night Nicole was the first one subbed in when Blair faced that early foul trouble, and we didn't really see the scoring prowess come in until later. Early in the game, she got a ball in the low block, and it was a jump ball immediately, but she is starting to figure out, hey, I'm 7 inches taller than everyone. If I keep this ball high, they're not going to be able to do much without fouling. And great free throw touch in her 1 free throw. So certainly some good signs from Nicole in that one. And when we look back to the postgame presser with Coach Insel, someone who is very rarely complimentary in losses, particularly one like we saw last night. But he said if there was anything that he could be happy about, it was Nicole. And I'm interested to see that storyline develop because Blair has faced some foul trouble. Obviously, on opposition scouting reports, Blair is the number 1 target as she's nearly averaging a double-double. She's going to be a shoo-in at this rate for Conference USA Freshman of the Year. But having someone that can come off the bench and be productive for you, and I don't know that we need Nicole to get 9 points and 8 rebounds every night, but she obviously affects the defense. That was Delaware's best scorer, was down low in the post. Someone that broke off for 10 points in the first period, someone that doesn't do that typically. And we'll get into what Delaware did really well that made them shine last night. But she did a great job being a defensive presence down low as someone that is 6'10" should be doing, but she obviously affected the game with 8 rebounds in 12 minutes. So how does that storyline develop? Because on the other side of the down low post, you've also got Macy Pfeiffer, who really, when she's not facing foul trouble, she's hard to take off the floor. She has her own turnover problems, and that's certainly something that is being discussed and worked on in practice with all of them, but Macy in particular, who sometimes just kind of gets a little ahead of herself. But when she settles in, she plays really good defense for someone her size. I think her athleticism allows her to defend anybody on the floor. So if she can stay out of foul trouble, she is certainly an asset to the front court. And then, of course, you can still throw Blair in there as well. But having that third player that can be in the front court, and Nicole, Stacy has had quality minutes as well. She hit a big 3 last night. I don't want to take anything away from Stacy. But the front court, I like where they're at, all things considered with what happened last night. It just can't wait till the fourth quarter to see that group get going. But another big takeaway was what happened in the backcourt. AC and Savannah Davis go 2 for 16 from beyond the arc. I know that's a lot to ask of two particular players, but they were brought here to shoot the basketball. And on a few occasions this year have they combined for below their average. And to draw back to those games, you have all the way back early in the non-conference against Tennessee Tech, they both combined for 0 for 7. Against Belmont earlier this year at home, where they also came back from 20 points down and made that interesting in the final minutes, but they collectively shot 1 for 7. On the road at Kennesaw, they shot 2 for 15, but they did win that game. And then last weekend at Ruston, Louisiana, against Louisiana Tech, they combined for 3 of 11. So in 5 games this year, they collectively combined well below their average of 30%. And the Lady Raiders are 1-4 in those basketball games. So I think if there's any other scouting report outside of what Blair is able to do down low, if you can chase AC and Savannah Davis off the line, that's obviously a recipe for success. As I said, you're at a 20% win percentage in those games. So you have to get more from Elena Contreras and Savannah Davis. And I'm not necessarily saying that they have to hit the threes. They did a good job when they chased them off the line last night of getting to the free throw line and hitting their free throws as they did. I just feel like you need to figure that part of your game out a lot earlier. But they're both talented scorers. And when they score, that comes in bunches, and neither one of them should be concerned about their future as far as playing time. I mean, they're an asset. Savannah's especially an asset on the defensive end. Elena, I mean, there's no one more passionate about her game, and no one is more critical of her game than Elena is, more so than her coaching staff. But when they get going, this team is unstoppable because it allows Blair to kick it out to her backcourt. Macy's obviously a part of that three-point shooting threat, but AC and Savannah Davis, more importantly than anybody, if they can get going, this team is really good. But continuing on last night, 15 turnovers by halftime. They limited it to 3 in the second half. All things considered, 3 turnovers in the second half and you only scored 2 points on free throws in the third quarter is surprising, but 15 turnovers by halftime, that's what allowed that deficit to grow so much. But I want to go back to the backcourt side of things and about that three-point threat. It looked like in the fourth, we wanted to get downhill, get to the basket. Yuhan Lin wasn't there. She's someone that I really, really like. I like her game. I know the reason she doesn't play is because of her turnover problems. But when she gets downhill, I don't think there's anyone more talented within 10, 12 feet of the rim than Yuhan Lin. Whether it's that pull-up jumper that she does where she just floats and rises above everybody. She can finish at the rim. Obviously, she gets fouled. She has great vision. If she pulls a double team, she is quick to get it off to her center. I love Yuhan, and I would love in those situations where the three ball isn't falling, you need to get someone downhill. Yuhan, I don't think there's a better option outside of Yuhan Lin. So I'm surprised to see that she didn't get very minutes last night. I think her total was 3. But as I prefaced earlier, Delaware just did a lot well. They the second most made three-pointers this season with 9. They had 10 earlier this year, but 9 for 21 is well beyond their average. They're again very below average shooting team. Their leading scorer last night is not typically their leading scorer. Just Delaware came prepared to play, and whether they knew that it was Coach Insel's 500 or not, they were the better basketball team for 3 quarters last night and put them up well over 20 points and certainly made it very, very difficult to even just get back into it. But we turn the page. Life moves on. You're still at 499 wins if you're Coach Insel, so you'll look forward to what you have tonight. And again, if we're going to get 500 wins, I would love for it to be against the defending Conference USA champions in Liberty. But this team is unlike the team that you saw last year. Tipping off in Murphy Center tonight at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN+. You're going to only see one returning starter from that Liberty team, and Elizabeth Eigesdottir, who really is not much of a threat like the other starting 4 players on that roster. She's not a scoring threat. She is a rebounding threat. She's also very annoying. You're going to see tonight that she draws a lot of fouls, and she is going to be the reason for a lot of fouls called tonight. But she is integral to what Liberty wants to do, but they have 2 real threats, and that's a deep threat and an inside threat. Avery Mills, the top 3-point shooter in Conference USA, over 41%, and she makes over 3 3-pointers per game. You've got to watch her. Can't lose that shooter in transition. We saw that a lot last night for Delaware. Whether they don't have a lot of shooters, and maybe you're not identifying those shooters in transition, but when Avery Mills gets loose in transition, you have to find her. 41% from three. I mean, it is their version of Jalen Gregory. You cannot afford to lose her. She averages nearly 16 points per game for the Flames. And then on the inside, who's going to be the biggest player on the floor tonight besides Nicole is going to be Emmy Stout at 6'3". She averages over 15 points per game and nearly 7 rebounds. But more importantly, she is an opportunist, as I like to call her, averaging over 3 offensive rebounds per game. She is someone that will clean up those missed shots and put them back, and that's where she does all of her dirty work. This team in Liberty is the best rebounding margin team in Conference USA. That's the reason that they won last night at Western Kentucky. And if you didn't keep eyes on that one, it took every second that they had last night, hitting a 3 in the final 9 seconds to win in Bowling Green, a game that I would have thought they walked away with. And they were up by 10 at halftime, but Western Kentucky cleaned up the boards, certainly made it tough on Liberty to really get back into that game. So tonight, we've got to win the rebounding game. You can't lose Avery Mills in transition, and hit your shots. That it's easier said than done. I totally understand that, but if you hit your shots tonight, I think you're going to put yourself in a really, really good position to just feel better about where you are and hopefully get Coach Insel that win number 5. But much like women's basketball team had a time change to this evening, the men down in Jacksonville, Alabama moved their tip-off up to 6 p.m. this evening against the Gamecocks. We're going to dive into that matchup and more when we return from this commercial break. You're listening to the Blue Raider Podcast presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee.
Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home has served Murfreesboro families with compassion and care since 1880. As a family-owned funeral home, we're committed to honoring every life with dignity through traditional services, cremation options, and pre-planning that gives you peace of mind. For over 140 years, we've been here when it matters most. Visit JenningsandAyers.com. Jennings & Ayers Funeral Home, honoring life and comforting families since 1880.
WGNS. This is Peter Demas, and here is this week's Demas's Emergency Responder of the Week.
Murfreesboro police officer and SRO Cole Glass was on a bike patrol when he noticed a child struggling with a broken bike chain. The boy, visibly frustrated, told Glass the chain came off. Without hesitation, Glass knelt and fixed it, and the moment became a small but powerful reminder of the heart behind the badge. Murfreesboro police officer Cole Glass's response exemplifies the kind of everyday heroism that often goes unnoticed, a willingness to pause, engage, and uplift a neighbor in need.
When you see a firefighter, police officer, paramedic, or telecommunicator going the extra mile, let WGNS know, and we at Demas's Restaurant will salute them as the emergency responder of the week.
This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Sign-ups are going on right now for First Shot's Winter Basketball League in Rutherford County. Coach Andy Herzer guides kids to sharpen basketball skills and build teamwork through exciting clinics and games. Since 2003, First Shot has empowered youth to grow in mind, spirit, and body. Don't miss out. Join the fun and develop lifelong skills. Visit FirstShotTN.org today and register for the Winter Basketball League. That's FirstShotTN.org.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Auctions are easy, fast, and profitable.
Whether you're buying or selling a home or commercial property, the auction is just so much easier, quicker, smoother.
My wife and I sold our personal home. Parks Auction helped us with that. The house brought about 20% more than we were going to ask for.
Visit parksauction.com.
Clark's Auction Company will get you top dollar for your property.
Clark's Auction Company, committed to auction excellence.
Sold it to you, 27.5.
Good afternoon. We're seeing slow traffic in a couple of spots. 40 eastbound here at Fessler's trying to get out past the airport. It's still slow on 24 West at Ellington Parkway. It's starting to build even more now, pushing down into Brentwood Franklin on 65 going southbound. Plenty of radar out here, as you can imagine, for a Friday afternoon. Hey, STR Towing and Recovery reminds you to please move over when you see flashing lights for 24/7 car and truck towing here in Middle Tennessee. STR Towing and Recovery. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is the Blue Raider Podcast, presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, 100.5 Smyrna, WGNSradio.com, and the Blue Raider Podcast YouTube channel. Now, back to your host, Jake Bolden.
Welcome back into the Blue Raider Podcast, presented by Gold's Gym of Tennessee. We're going to be looking ahead to tonight's matchup, men's basketball in Jacksonville, tipping off at 6 p.m. local time on ESPN+. Hopefully you're not surprised by that news with this weather storm that's going to be blowing in all across the southeast, but excited really to have two basketball games. I wish I had the opportunity to watch both with the ladies tonight, but we're going to be doing double duty there at the Murphy Center. Once again, if you're not already following us on our social media at Blue Raider Pod, make sure you're doing that. We're live streaming on Twitter, X, Facebook, and YouTube. And, of course, we do have an Instagram and TikTok page at Blue Raider Pod. But tonight, the men are in Jacksonville, an interesting team to say the least. Everyone remembers Jacksonville State last year and where MTSU fell in the Conference USA semis to Jaron Pierre and Quelron House, a team that was one of the top scoring offenses in all of college basketball. Has a little bit different look this year under Coach Ray Harper. They still have that scoring presence from a top point guard, but he does it in a very fascinating and different fashion than what we saw with Jaron Pierre last year. Does a lot of damage up close, but before we really dive into this game, some updates on what's happening in Conference USA. I think Liberty is leaving everybody in the dust, and I always assumed that there was a top half of this conference in MTSU and New Mexico State, and really those two would stand out to me on paper. I knew Sam Houston might be good with a lot of their youth. Kennesaw, another one of those who's dealing with some of their own off-court issues, who actually looks like a better basketball team, all things considered. But this conference as a whole, top to bottom, has been absolutely competitive. I say top to bottom, from 2 all the way to 12. It has been a very, very competitive conference. And that's indicative of a lot of your recent scores. I know last week the Blue Raiders won in double overtime at home against Missouri State, a team who we all thought we were significantly better than. But Missouri State just went on the road last night into Las Cruces, went up early on the Aggies, lost their lead in the second half, but held on late thanks to Palick, who put up over 20 points for the Bears. And we all know the presence of that front court with Michael Osei-Bonsu. That team is different and unique to Conference USA, but clearly they are good. Louisiana Tech, a team who I completely wrote off given that you blew a second half lead, but they did that to Kennesaw last night as well. Kennesaw had a double-digit lead going into halftime, and they blew it. And so really this conference couldn't be any more even. Another one I'm totally just forgot, FIU lost to UTEP. Again, UTEP I had already written off as one of the worst teams in this conference, and UTEP, for the most part, pretty handily handled FIU at home in El Paso. So the Panthers, who are definitely improved this year, but I thought they are the better team against UTEP. And clearly it goes to show that you can't lose at home. And that's always been the case in all of college basketball. We all know that. You take care of your ones at home, and you win the conference championship on the road. And that's clearly where Liberty is above and beyond everybody else in this conference. Even looking here and reflecting what the Blue Raiders have done, only one road win this year against New Mexico and Las Cruces, and you lost your other two on the road in El Paso and Ruston. But you have to defend your home turf, and the Blue Raiders, after tonight, are going to have 3 more home games, starting up with Liberty on Thursday, and then, of course, Western Kentucky, the 100 Miles of Hate, that following Saturday, and then you have a midweek game on the 4th against FIU. If you win against Jacksonville State, it puts you in a good position. You're still holding steady in second place in Conference USA, but you have to beat Liberty at home next Thursday. And that the game doesn't mean as much as it does if you don't handle business tonight against this Jacksonville State team. This team collectively doesn't really impress me, to be quite honest with you, but I've said that about everybody. And what makes this team so scary is that scoring threat that I mentioned earlier, and in all due respect to him so I don't mess up his name, his first name is Mustafa, and we all know Mustafa for the Blue Raiders, but this Mustafa is going to play point guard for Jacksonville State and Coach Harper. He does all of his damage inside the paints. He's one of the highest usage rate point guards in all of college basketball. He's going to take over a third of the shots for the Gamecocks, similar to what Jaron Pierre did. But as I said, he does all of his damage close to the rim. He's not a three-point threat at all. He's only made 13 three-pointers this year. That's under the average of one per game, and that's not his shot, but he is a scorer. He's 18 points per game on 47% shooting, which, considering he would be an undersized big, but he's a guard who's going to get down low and create a shot, but more importantly, he's going to get to the free throw line, which is also where he does a lot of his damage, averaging nearly 5 free throws made per game. So he's going to get to the line, get that and one bucket opportunity. And then past that, you've got AC Bryant, who does return from last year, not a starter, but he is their deep threat at 13 points per game, shooting over 40% from three. I always say if you're trying to scout a team out, who do you need to pinpoint, who do you need to focus on? But those two guys are the easiest targets, but I like to think that the depth that MTSU has versus what Jacksonville State offers, this team is too deep, and is certainly going to cause some problems for Jacksonville State. We kind of saw some glimpses of where that depth helped them in double overtime last week against Missouri State, where Sean Smith plays the majority of the last 4 to 8 minutes of regulation, plays the entire 5 minutes of the first overtime, really gets you into double overtime. He takes a seat because he's gassed, is the words that Coach McDevitt used, and they turn to Javon Carter, who scored 7 of their 12 points in the second overtime. So having that depth was pivotal in that matchup in particular, but it's going to be pivotal in this matchup tonight because Jacksonville State passed AC Bryant and Mustafa. They don't have much, but it all comes down to defending the rim, and that one is my main takeaway for this matchup, because if you don't defend the rim, I look back to the El Paso game where they did all of their damage down low. Then you have La Tech at Ruston. They also did the same thing down low where they're able to get downhill, you foul,